Okay, we come back to our question. So we start with the constant growth model, and let's start from finding the intrinsic value of the share. So the question was, find share price if dividend per share today is rupees 3. Find share price if dividend per share today is rupees 3, discount rate is 10%, and constant growth rate in the dividend is 2%. In this question, the unknown is price. So how do we find it? Just we plug in the given values into the equation, and dividend per share is 3. It grows at a rate of 2%. So we multiply it by 1.02, and then we divide it on the cost of capital 10% minus growth rate. So we get a value of 38.25. Now let's make this question a little different. So say that we have the price of 38.25 and the growth rate is also given 2% and dividend is also given, that is 3. What is the cost of capital? How do we find it? Since we already know in this question that it is 10, but in case the 10 was not given to us, so how do we find it? So this is the question of solving for k in this equation. So we can, since this equation is not that difficult, we can simply take this k to the other side of the equation, but we can also solve it in the Excel solver. So how do we do that? If we were to do it in the Excel solver. Okay, so let's come back to Excel and try to enter these values. So we have DPS 0, that is current dividend. Current dividend is 3. Growth rate is 0.02. What else do we have? Let's say we have price. The share price is given. Assume it is given. Let's say it is 38.25. What is the cost of capital? That is K. Okay, so initially let's write something like, say the k is 0.01. We don't know it, but we shall try to find it with the help of the solver. So I'm writing this as 0.01. What is the equation for finding share price? If we were to find share price in Excel using the constant growth model, what will be the equation? The equation is equal to the current dividend, so 3 multiplied by 1 plus growth rate. So 1 plus growth rate is given here, and divided by k minus g. So k minus g. Okay, so this is our objective cell, which we shall try to equate to the share price. If we look at the equation, this is the equation. This whole value should be equal to share price. So let's say share price is given 38, and we have all these inputs. Just one of the input is missing, that is this value. So how do we find it? Now in the Excel solver, what we shall do is to equate the share price 38.25. We shall try to equate the objective cell, this cell, to the share price. So the result from this cell should be equal to 38.25. And what will be our changing cell? Will be keep on changing the K, that is the unknown or the cost of equity. So let's go to solver. Our objective cell is the share price formula, this one. And in this case, we are not maximizing anything or minimizing. We are trying to get a value of 38.25 from this equation. And 38.25, and what cell Excel will keep on changing to reach this value? We say it should change the cost of capital, K. And at the moment we don't have any constraint, so we will just solve it. Okay, it couldn't find a solution. Let's try it again. Our objective cell is B7. Yes, it is true. And our changing cell is B5. It's also true. Sometime if that happens, you should solve it again. So once we solve it, we get the cost of capital 10%, which is exactly we had in the question. So we get the cost of capital equal to 10%. This equation could have been easily solved manually because K is rather simple to find and put it to the other side of the equation. Now let's go back to our second question where K is deeply nested. It has roots and under roots, and it is deeply nested. So let's say we want to find this part of the equation. The ICC, the implied cost of equity, capital, or the discounted, whatever. In this case, let's say the share price is given 104, and we also have the dividends. Let me copy this. Let's go back to Excel. So our question number 2, assume that these are the dividends, and yes, our growth rate is 0.02%. What else do we have? I think that's all we need. And price, yes, price, let's say price is given it is something wrong with my keyboard, 104.73. Okay, now what do we want to find? We want to find K. So initially, let's say K is some random number, just to get our values in the formula. Don't worry, even if you don't type anything, Excel will try to find the correct value. So I'm using, let's say the K is given at 3%. Though it is not given, we shall try to find it, but I'm just putting some random value. Okay. First of all, let's find the terminal value. Again, problem terminal. Okay, the terminal value as we had typed here. Let me copy it here so that we can understand what's going on. So let's say this is our terminal value. At the moment it is 0.0823, but don't worry, this assume that we don't have it. So terminal value equation is the last year dividend multiplied by 1 plus growth rate divided by capital, which is not yet given, minus growth rate. So this should be our terminal value. It is of course wrong at the moment, but don't worry. Okay, now let's try to find the present values. The present value equation is dividend divided by cost of capital, which is not yet given, 1 plus cost of capital raised to power 1. The second year dividend divided by 1 plus capital, cost of capital raised to power 2. The third year will add both the third year dividend per share plus the terminal value that we had obtained, and we will discount both of them at 1 plus cost of capital raised to power 3. And our objective cell will be to sum all these three values. We will try to get this value. We will try to equate this value with the share price. This will be our objective. Okay, so now we are good to go. I'm deleting the terminal value equation because it is creating some confusion. And terminal value here. Okay, now going to the solver, and since it has the previous solution, I am deleting that solution. What is our objective? Objective cell is the formula that we have just calculated, that is the total value of the share, and we will try to equate it to what? It should be 104.73, and we shall change by changing k, that is the unknown, and at the moment we don't have any constant, so let's solve it. And there we go. So it found the cost of capital 0.0823, which is exactly the same that we had used previously at 0.023. So let me quickly summarize. So in this question, if we were to write this question, how would we write it? So in this question we assumed that we have a share price of 104.73, and we have dividends for 3 years, 4, 6 and 7, and the growth rate is 2%. The question is, what is the cost of capital? What is the discount rate? That was our question. And to answer that question, we assume that the growth rate is 2%, so we were to apply the constant growth model to the terminal value. So we started with finding the terminal value, and then we discounted all the cash flows individually, and in the third year we discounted both the cash flow and the terminal value on the third year factor, and then we just simply summed all the present values, and the sum was whatever the sum was, it was there. Now in the Excel solver, our objective was to get this value equal to the share price. So in order to equate both the values, we had to change something, and the changing cells were the cost of capital. So Excel solver kept on changing this value until it reaches a solution, and the solution is that these two should be equal. Now the Excel solver made this equal, and the point where they become equal, the cost of capital was 0.0823, and this is our solution. So I hope that was helpful. If you have question, you can let me know. Thank you.